This is the only WordPress tutorial you need to easily create any site you can think of in less than an hour. You don't need to know any code, and the page builder we're using is completely free. So the first thing we need to get you set up with is an affordable hosting plan. So if you follow my link below in the description, or if you just go to wesmcdowell.com/hosting, we can get started. Okay, so if you followed that link, you'll wind up on a page like this. It may look different. They may change the design. You never know. But the point is you get all these inclusions, including a free domain for the first year, like a free.com for your business. That's great. So you can see when you use my discount, you get it for $199 a month right now. That's even better than usual. So this may be higher when you see it. If you see $199 a month, I would jump on that because it's normally $1 more than that. Anyway, going to click on Get Started Now. And then you can select your plan. Unless you have an online store or anything, or you have any kind of bigger needs, I would just go with basic. That's good enough for almost everybody. Skip. Okay, so now they're asking you if you have a domain you already use, like yourbusinessname.com. If that's the case, you would type it in here and then next. Or if you need to buy a new one, you would put in the name of your business or whatever you want to be your domain name. So you just type it in there and then click on next. And if it's available, it'll say that it's available and it's added to your cart for free. So you're just going to go through and you're going to fill in all your information here. You can choose your service term. I'm just going to stick with 12 months. All this stuff is free. Then there's add-ons. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck all of these add-ons. We don't really need them. And you've already got your 50% off here, so you don't need to do anything there. Then put in your information and click on, actually uncheck this, and then click on Submit. Okay, so the purchase went through and it took about a minute just to build out WordPress, and we wound up right here. So we're going to skip over all of this stuff and we're just going to go up to Exit to WordPress and click on Exit. Okay, so here we are back in the WordPress dashboard. It may look a little different for you depending on what they're deciding to advertise today. I'm just going to dismiss these things so we start off a little cleaner. I'm just going to give you a really quick overview before we get to the fun stuff of building. Just show you the lay of the land here where some stuff is. So first of all, over on the left panel, we have things like pages. So if you want to add a new page, this is where you would do it. And if you click on pages, you'll see all the pages. There's not a whole lot here. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete the ones we've got there and apply. And then we've got things like posts up here. So this is like, think of these as blog posts. So if you want to add a new blog post in the future, you would click here. To see all of them, you would click here. And another really important thing to know is users right down here. So this is where you can add yourself as a user. You can add someone else on your team as a user, but we want to make sure your password is set so that you can easily log into this in the future without having to go through your host. So I'm just going to click on all users, and then it should have one for you here based on the information you filled in with your host. And I'm just going to click on edit. And down here, you can edit the username itself if you want to do that. You can change your email if you need to, but the really important thing is changing your password. So I'm going to click on Set New Password. It's going to suggest something for you. You can put in whatever you want, and then just click on Update Profile. So now we're going to add a few things that are going to help us actually build the site. So we're going to go over to Plugins and then Add New. And if you don't know what a plugin is, it's just something that helps extend the functionality of your site. Because right now it's a bare bones site with nothing on it. So we have to add plugins to make sure things work. Now the first one I'm going to search for, this one is optional. It's called Icon Elements. Now this is really important if you want to be able to use different kinds of icons. It just helps give your site some extra personality. Again, it's optional. I'm just going to click on Install Now. You might as well do it. That way you have the option later. And then on Activate. Easy as that. Now we're going to go up to Add New, and we're going to add one more really important plugin. This is the one that's going to make building your site possible in the first place. So I've typed in Starter Templates, and this is the one we want right here. It's really reputable, as over 1 million installations and 5 stars across the board. So I'm going to click on Install Now, and then again on Activate. So now that we have Starter Templates installed on our site, we're just going to scroll down and find it where it says Starter Templates. We're going to click on See Library. And you can watch this overview if you want to, but we're going to skip that. I'm just going to click on Build Your Website Now. Now is where we choose which page builder we want to use. Now, I always recommend Elementor. It's all I ever use to make websites. I love it. Okay, so now's the cool part. These are all the templates that it comes with that you can use. You'll notice that some of them are designated as premium, meaning you have to pay for them, but there's quite a few. In fact, some of the best ones, in my opinion, the easiest ones to use are actually free. And don't worry, you can customize them as much as you need to make anything. So we're gonna choose this first one right here. I love this one to start with. It's just a really nice, clean design, and we can add sections at will. We can delete stuff. We can swap things around. I'm going to show you how to do all of that stuff. So if you have a logo at this stage, you can go ahead and upload it here. We're going to skip that for now. We're going to handle that last, actually. So I'm going to click on skip and continue. And this is kind of cool. It actually lets you choose from a few different color schemes they've got. Don't worry, you're not locked into any of these. But what I would do if I were you is just choose one that maybe feels the most right for you right now. And then later we can go ahead and change things if we need to. And the same thing here with fonts. It gives you some really good out-of-the-box combinations that you really can't go wrong with. So you've got all these different looks here. I'm just going to stick with the first one, though. I think it's a nice clean look. And then click on continue. So I'm going to skip all this stuff. I'm not going to fill that out. I don't think you have to. And I'm definitely not going to click this. I don't want to get emails from them. But make sure all of these things are checked. These are all things you need, and I'm going to click on Submit and Build My Website. Okay, so it built it really quick. It says 24 seconds is all it took. It may take a little longer for you, but it should never take any more than just a couple of minutes. So click on View Your Website. So here is basically how it would look for your clients or customers who are coming to your website. This is the front-facing side of it. They will not see this bar up top. This is just for you when you're logged in. And you can see we've got all these pages here. Home, About, Services, Contact. And I will show you how to change those too if you ever need to swap it out for a different kind of page. Totally doable. So in order to edit, let's click back on Home. Let's make sure we're on the home page. And we're going to go right up top to Edit with Elementor. And I'll just click out of here. Actually, just don't show any of those. Okay, so here's what it looks like for you when you're actually editing the site. So we're inside of Elementor. Again, it's a great page builder that lets you create any page, any section of any page without knowing any code whatsoever, which is awesome. I'm not a coder at all, and I was able to pick this up like within just an hour of playing with it. So this is definitely going to be easy, and you can do this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of this. That's not really needed here. And I just want to show you the lay of the land here, what we've got. So over here on the right side, we have what I call the staging area. This is where all the actual content is. And then over on the left side, this is our element panel. So this has all the different widgets that you can drag and drop over here. And anything over here on the stage, you can go ahead and click on it and then edit it over on the left. And there's a few different tabs, and don't worry, we'll get to them over the course of this video so you'll know exactly what to do. But the first thing I want to show you is basically how these sections are, like what they're made up of. So what we have is essentially each section, and a section has this like pink box around it. It's really small, and I hope you may not be able to see it in this video, but so this is a section, this is a section, this is a section, and every section is made up of columns. So this section has one column. This has 3 columns. This has 1 column. This has 2 columns. And within each column, you have these widgets. So if you come up to this elements icon, these are all elements or widgets you can just drag right from here into here and then edit it right here. I'm going to go ahead and do a Command Z on that. But I'm just going to go ahead and right click on this and delete it. Okay, so going back up to the top section, this is what we call the hero section at the top of any page. So now it's time to have some fun and actually customize this thing so it looks like how we want it to look. So there's a few things going on here. We have the background image, we have the text, and we have the button. So let's go ahead and start with the background image, and I can show you all the fun stuff that we can do with that. So in order to edit that, we need to select the section, and we're going to go over to Style. That has our background stuff over here. So right now it's set to a background image, but you've got some options. If we got rid of the image, you could have just a background color. Any color you want. You can play around with this bar. It can be blue, it could be anything. You also have gradients. So you can choose any 2 colors that can just kind of fade into each other. Now, be careful with this one because it can look really bad if you don't know what colors go together, but it is an option for you nonetheless. Then we have video. You can actually add a video from YouTube here. All you'd have to do is just paste in the URL of that YouTube video, or you can do a slideshow where you can select multiple images to kind of cycle through in the background. But the standard, what most people do is actually just use a background image here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back to this first one that says classic, and then I'm going to choose an image. So you just take whatever image file you have, and if it's for a hero background image, I do recommend it being about 1900 pixels wide. You definitely want to make sure it's big enough to not be pixelated, but I've already got all, and then you would just drag it right over onto the stage here and it would upload. But I've already got all my media files uploaded previously. So I'm just going to click there and I'm going to choose this one right here. And that's looking pretty good, but maybe in your case, the text is hard to read over an image. Well, there's an easy solution for that. So I'm going to go under where it says background. I'm just going to collapse that and go to background overlay. So this is going to put a color, either a solid color or a gradient on top. I generally recommend sticking with a solid color, but I'll show you how to do a gradient overlay later. So you just choose a color. I almost always recommend simple black. I've seen it go sideways way too many times when you choose a crazy color, and it just tends to not look great. So black is generally best, and then you can play around with how transparent or opaque it is. So if it's all the way on 1, it's just all black. If it's on 0, it's not there at all. So you want to play around and you want to basically get it to a point where you can still see the image and you can definitely still see the text. So to me, something like this looks pretty nice. And now if you want to change your text, it's really easy to do. You're just going to click on whatever text you want to edit. And like, let's say we want to edit this subheadline here. And you just write it over here. You can even bold certain key phrases if you want to. And what if you want to change the style of the text, right? So just click on any text you want to edit the style of, then go from content to style, and then under text color, you can change that to anything you want. Again, play with the color wheel here, get it to wherever you want it to be. I'm just going to stick with white. Then typography. So here's where you can change things like the font. By the way, thousands of Google fonts to choose from. It can be a little overwhelming. That's why I recommend just sticking with the pre-formatted choices they give you, because you really can't go wrong with them. But you can choose anything else you want here. You can change the weight of it, like you can go thin. And by the way, not every font has thin and all that stuff. So I'm just going to go back to, just to be able to show you that, I'm going to go back to default. We can do thin. We can do bold if we want to do that. If we go to transform, we can make it all uppercase. You know, all kinds of stuff we can do. I'm just going to go back to default. And let's say we wanted to make this subheadline text a little bit bigger because I think it's kind of small. Easy to do. Just go up to Style, Typography, and then bump up the size just like that. Okay, and now we are left with our button right here. So if we click on that, we've got a lot of options. So the first thing we can do is change the text of it. So something like schedule now, or call now, or whatever you want it to be. Then for the link, so basically that has to go somewhere, right? So this is where you would just enter in the URL of the page that it's going to go to. In most cases, it'll be your contact page. So just make sure this, if you're linking internally on your own website, this is a really important thing. All you need to do is do a backslash and then the name of that page. So this is usually best left as kind of a last step when you know what all your pages are called. So it would be, in my case, it would be wesmcdowell.com/contact. But all I would have to actually type here is /contact because it knows we're already on that site. From there, you can change the alignment. You can do left or center or right, but obviously center looks best there. You can change the size if you want to. You can even add an icon if you wanted to do that. You just click on the icon library and it'll bring up all these and you can try to sort through it. I'm just going to type in a chevron here. That's kind of one of these little fancy arrows. I'm just going to click on that. That tends to look best in a button like this. And I'd probably position that after. Now beyond this, we can obviously change the style too. So if we go up to style, we can change the font, right? Like we did with the other text. You would just choose it here. You can change the size of it, make it a little bit bigger. You can make it bolder. I'm just going to put it back on normal for now. You can transform it to all uppercase if you wanted to do that. And then if you click out of here, you can go down to changing the color. So text color, it's set to black now, but what if you wanted it to be white? Really easy to do. You can change it to a gradient button if you wanted to do that. And then you just choose 2 colors, something like that. But I'm going to go back to classic, and I'm just going to choose the same color we had already, but you can choose anything. Click here. Again, play with the color wheel, go nuts, have fun with it. But I'll just go back to what we had for now. Then you can add a border if you want. You could add a solid border to it, and then you just decide how thick you want that border to be and change the color of the border. And then we have border radius. So this is like, if you can see, it's really slightly rounded corners. So the higher this value is, the more rounded it is, until it can even get to like this pill shape if you wanted to do that. But I think I'll just put it back to where it was. It was on 4 earlier, so we'll do that. And I will get rid of the border as well. I think it looks better without, personally. And one last thing here for buttons is a hover state. So you know how on websites when you go there and you mouse over it, it changes color slightly? That's a good thing because it helps people kind of realize that it's a button. So just go over from normal to hover, and from there, you're just going to choose a new color for the background. So I'll just click on color. I'll choose the same color we have, but I'm going to make it slightly darker, just like that. So that now when you hover over it, it changes a little bit, so people kind of get that it's something to click. Okay, so to me, this is looking pretty good. Now, whenever you want to get a preview of what it's going to look like without all these boxes around everything, all you have to do is collapse this left side by clicking this arrow, and now we get a really good preview, including the header up here, which goes away when we're editing. But so this is what it looks like. Looking pretty good, right? So I do actually want to show you one more thing before we move on. The image scrolls with it. So let me show you how you can change that and kind of achieve what I think is an even cooler look. So we're just going to choose this section again as a whole, and then go down to the image. And all we're going to do is go to attachment. Right now it's set to scroll. We're going to choose fixed. And now here's the effect we have, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm going to go with that here. And now I think it is time where we can actually move on. So we have this little title here, and we already know how to edit text. We just click on it and then edit it over here. So I'm not going to bother doing that. But I want to show you how to delete something in case you ever wanted to do that. So we have this little divider line, and they love adding these things on these templates. I don't ever love them, but you might, and that's fine. You can keep it, but I'm just going to do this so I can show you how to delete stuff. So all you need to do is right click on anything you don't like, and then go down to delete. Simple as that. And then if you ever wanted to bring something back, or if you ever made a mistake, this is really important too. You just want to go down here to the bottom left corner, click on this little, it looks like a clock icon. It says history. Click on that, and it just allows you to go back in time. All the changes we've made so far, you can go all the way back to the very beginning if you wanted to do that. So, but I'm just going to go back, and we will continue. So now we've got this section where it's got 3 images and 3 basically descriptions of services, or these could be benefits, anything you wanted it to be. So I'm just going to show you now how you can change out images. Super easy to do. I'm just going to click on this one and then go over under content, choose image, and I've got one picked out right here. I'll select that, and I'll do the same for the middle one, choose image, and one more time. And if you're ever stuck for images, I've got a few suggestions for you here. So the first one is, let's go back to choose image. They actually have a bunch of free images that you can use from, I think it's from Pexels, it's a free, Pixabay, sorry. It's a free stock media site. So they do have a lot of stuff, and some of it's pretty good. So you just type in like the kind of image you're looking for and see what it comes up with. And since we were dealing with a more vertical image than a horizontal one in that case, maybe that's what we're looking for. You can choose vertical here, and it'll only show you those. Then you just click on the image, and then save and insert. But I will just undo that for now. And my other pick, if you actually want to pay for images, is Adobe Stock. They have a lot of great stuff, not free, but they have everything in the world you could ever imagine. So that's what I recommend for paid images. And again, for any image that's going to be a full width, I would again recommend about 1900 pixels wide. Anything more for like this purpose, I would say could be about, 500 pixels wide, something like that would look pretty good. And then of course we can change the text at will, whatever we want. So we just click on what we want to edit. And then these are set up as kind of a twofer. It's got a title and a description in one. It's what we call an image box. And then obviously we can change the text. We already know how to do that. We click on it. We can change the title here and the description here. If we wanted to change, maybe we want to make these titles bold. Let's see how we can do that. Let's go to Style. I'm going to collapse Image and then go to Content. So again, this is split into title and description. So all we need to do is click on typography, and then under weight, I'm going to choose bold, and you can bump up the size if you wanted to do that. Now let's say we wanted to apply these changes to the other two. Well, we could one at a time do the same thing, but that's kind of time consuming, right? So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to click on this pencil, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to do copy, and then right here, paste style. And one more time, it just pastes the style. That just lets you create a style once and then paste it across the board. Pretty easy. And since this is a 3-column layout, I do want to show you your options when it comes to columns and what you can do with them. First thing you can do is swap the order. So all you need to do is find this little icon right here. So this is the column border. So you're going to click here and drag it to whichever column you want it to be in. And we could do that one more time. Maybe we want this one over here. And what if they gave you 3, but all you really need is 2? Easy fix as well. So all you have to do is choose the column you want to delete, right click, delete. And that leaves you with 2 columns. Now, I'm going to undo that. What if you need 4? Easy as well. All you're going to do is right click here and then duplicate. Adding a new column is going to add a blank one, but if you want to keep all the kind of content in there, what you can do, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. You can right click, duplicate, then you would just change out the image. We already know how to do that. And you would change the text. We already know how to do that too. But I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. And the last thing I'm going to show you here is you can change the width of each column. They don't all have to be equal. So all you have to do is put your cursor right between them on the dotted line and just start dragging. You can drag it to whatever feels best to you. If you want to go a little funkier with it, something like this kind of looks cool, I think. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to undo that. And just like you can move columns around, you can also move sections around. So all you need to do that, let's say we wanted this quote to be above our services. All you got to do is click this little this 6 dots icon right here where you're selecting the section, drag and hold, and then you're just going to scroll up to where you want it to go. And then the pink color will show you where it's going, and then just drop it right there. You can also delete a section if you want, just by clicking the X. Couldn't be easier. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to undo both of those actions for now, so everything's back where it was. But here's where it gets really interesting, because we've done the best we can with this template they've given us. The problem with that is sometimes it doesn't have all the section blocks that we need to properly showcase our product or our service or whatever it is our website's about. So that is not a problem. They've got you covered with being able to add new sections. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. I'm going to show you both. I'm going to start off with the easier way, and that's by adding a pre-made section block. So if we want to add a block between this section and this section, we just have to go to the bottom one and then click on the plus icon. And from here, we're going to click on the starter templates icon. And we're going to switch from pages over to blocks. And these are all the different section blocks that it comes with. And yes, they look extremely boring right now, but that's just because there's no images. And the images that are here are black and white, right? So just think of these as layouts, not full-on design choices at this point. So let's say we wanted to add in like a benefit section here. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose something that I think works the best. And by the way, you can filter through these. If you go up top, there's all these different categories, right? About sections or team sections. So There's nothing here for benefits, so either features or services work pretty well for that. But just play around, look through all of them, see what fits your content the best layout-wise. So I'll click on features, and I'm just going to try to find something that I think works the best. And I think this one right here is good. So it's going to show you a little preview. Then I'm going to click on import block. All right, and there it is. So let's get to customizing this. So as you can see, it comes with 4 features or benefits. I think 3 is a better number. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click, delete on this one. So we're left with only 3. And before we move on here, I am noticing that these fonts are definitely not the fonts that we kind of picked out when we first did this. So I think I know what we need to do here. So the first thing I want to do, this is really important. We need to click on update. We haven't done that yet. You want to periodically make sure you're clicking on update to save your changes. Now we're going to click on this little eyeball icon where it says preview changes. So now we're out of Elementor. We're just kind of looking at it as a viewer would look at it. We're going to go up to where it says customize. And we're going to choose global and then typography. And then we're going to choose whichever one of these we like. So, we made that choice already. For some reason, it didn't apply to all the new sections we were doing. So I'm just going to click on this one, Montserrat Source Sans Pro. I think it's really clean. But you can choose any of these, or you can just mix and match whatever you want to do. So you can just choose a body font from all of these Google fonts you have access to, and then a headings font, and call it a day. But I'm happy with this combination right here, so I'm just going to click on Publish. And I'm going to X out of here. Okay, now if we go down, we can see that our new fonts have taken effect, and everything's looking pretty good. Let's talk about icons, because we haven't dove into those yet. So this is what we call an icon box. So it has all 3 components of it in one widget, essentially. It has the icon, it has the title, and the description all in one place. So changing the title and description, that's easy. We know how to do that already. But what about the icon itself? So before we choose a new icon itself, I want to show you your options of how it looks, like how you can style it. So we have view, we have framed, which is selected right now, which is basically the circle around it. We have stacked, which is just a solid circle behind it, or default, which is just the icon itself. Now I tend to gravitate toward this the most. I think it's the cleanest. So now it's time to actually choose our icon itself. So just click on it, then go to Icon Library. Now, if you went through the step earlier of adding that extra plugin, the Icon Element plugin, then you'll have all these plugins. Like this is all you would have access to if you didn't do that. But I actually like these a lot better. I think they have more personality. Now, my favorite style personally, you may disagree, feel free to go with whatever you want. I like the WP Page Builder style. And they have quite a bit of icons here, so just look through them and decide which one is going to kind of sell your idea the best. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one out here. Find a little coconut drink here and insert. Cool, so the problem with it though is it's pretty small, right? So how do we fix that? Let's go up to Style and Size. We can make it as big or as small as we want to. I think something like that looks pretty nice. And then of course we can change the color. I'm going to choose our theme color we've been using. Oh, and I should show you this too. Whenever you choose a color, let's just find a random color here. Let's say you love this one and you know you want to reuse it throughout the site. Easy to keep track of it. All you need to do is click on the little plus icon, and that's going to save it for you as basically a swatch. So you could name it if you want to. You don't have to. And I'm going to click on Create. That way, if we go over here to this one, we can go to Style and then go on Custom Colors, like the little globe icon, and then it'll be right down here waiting for us. But I'm actually going to put that back to the other color. And now I'm going to apply this style to the other two. It doesn't mean it's going to change the icon itself. It's just going to change the style we've made. So I'm going to right click on Copy, then right click Paste Style, and one more time. So it has this little box around it. Now I think that's just some kind of a bug. So let's go ahead and change the icon out and it should fix it. So every now and then you'll run into something like this, but it's usually not permanent. So I'm going to go to Icon Library, down to WP Page Builder. And that's really important too. Make sure when you're dealing with icons, you're not choosing 3 from 3 different icon packs. Okay, they need to match or it's going to look really, it'll just look really disorganized and kind of unprofessional. So I'm just going to choose an icon for this one, the globe, and insert that. Okay, we're still dealing with this. So what I'm going to do is click on update. And then usually all you have to do is kind of refresh the page. So I'm just going to click on refresh and that should fix the problem. There we go. It's looking better already. So now I'm going to choose an icon for the third column. Icon library. Let's choose something. Okay, it's looking pretty good. So one thing to show you here. So if you notice, this text kind of comes dangerously close to this text for me. I prefer more space between columns. I think it generally looks better and it's a really easy fix. So I'm just going to choose this whole section that has the 3 columns in it and go to layout. And then under columns gap, I'm going to choose wider. That makes the gap between them a bit wider. So I think that, for my money, looks a little bit nicer. Okay, so now let's say we want to add a background image here. Really easy to do. We're just going to click on the whole section and then go to Style. And then under Background, remember we have all these choices, but I'm going to go simple with an image, Classic, choose Image, and I've got one right here. But oh boy, that is hard to read, right? So all we need to do is choose a background overlay to put on top of it to really make the content pop. So make sure you have normal, background type, classic, and then I'm just going to choose black. And I think I'm going to bump up the opacity slightly so it's just really easy to read, really easy on the eyes. And another thing I'm noticing, a lot of times they put this text as kind of a light gray. That makes it a little harder to read on a background that's not completely black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this text, style. I'm going to change the text color to pure white. And I'm going to do the same with this first one here as well. Choose the first icon box, go to style. Now the title is already white, so we don't have to worry about that. All we need to worry about is the description color. I'm going to put that as white as well. Now remember, we don't have to do it the same. We don't have to do it 2 more times. We just have to right-click copy, right-click paste style, and paste style. And one thing I'm noticing is I know that this image has a lot more going on in it than what we're seeing. So if I want to show more of the image rather than crop in it on it like this, just choose the section and then go under background. And what we have here is display size is set to default. What we always want to do, almost always what we want to do, is set that to cover. That's going to make it just big enough to cover the entire section. And I think that looks a lot cooler. And remember, if we want that to stay in place as we scroll, we just go to Attachment, Fixed. And then we scroll. Let me just go ahead and collapse this so we get a nice preview of it. And that just stays in place as we scroll, and I think that looks pretty cool. So I actually want to show you some inspiration here. So we're on the Apple website. So let's say you wanted to make a section like this, where you've got kind of a black column over here and a white column over here with text on it. So let's take this as our overall inspiration and create something that feels kind of like this. So we're just going to go back to our page. Let's say we want to put it right between these 2 sections. We're going to click on the plus icon right here. And rather than clicking the starter templates, we're just going to click on the plus sign here. So this is going to allow you to build something completely from scratch, starting with how many columns you're going to have. Now, don't worry, you can always change it later. I've shown you how you can delete a column or add a column. But for now, we need 2 columns. So I'm just going to click that. And since this is pretty much full width, it goes all the way across. So I've selected the section itself. Now we're going to go up to layout. It's set to be content width boxed. What that means is you can see this section, like there's a box. All the content is kind of boxed inside. It doesn't go all the way to the edge. Same with this. It doesn't go all the way to the edge. But we do want this to go all the way from edge to edge. So under content width, we choose full width. And each of these has basically a headline and a little description text, and then, a little button or a link underneath it. So I'm going to go ahead and just start by dragging those elements, those raw elements, into each column. So go up to the elements icon. I'm going to take a heading and put it there, and then back to the elements, then a text editor underneath it, and then a button. And then I could do the same thing over again. Or what if I just did this? I'm just going to right click, duplicate, and then I'm going to go ahead and right click, delete on that one. So now we've done it twice and it took a lot less time. Okay, so now I'm going to edit this text. I'm just going to make this our light background section. And I might make this text a little shorter, just about that long. And then this will be our dark background. So I'm going to click on here, go to Style, Background Type. For now, let's just set this to be black, just a black background. We'll add an image in later, but I'll click our title, and I'll just call this dark background. There we go. And then I'm going to go to Style, and I'm going to change the text color to white. And I will do the same thing with this. First of all, I'll make the text shorter, just to kind of more closely match what we have here. It's like really short text. And then I'll go to Style, and I'll also make that white. Now, if you see here, what do we have? We have text that's it's a lot smaller than what we have, and it's all centered. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on this text, and I'm going to start by centering it, and I'll do the same with the smaller text. Then I'm going to click here, and I will go to Style and Typography. Size, I'll make it a little bit more like that. And now I think this text is a little too far away from this text. So let me show you how to fix that. This will happen from time to time. All we need to do is choose either one of them. I'm just going to choose the title, and I'm going to go up to Advanced. Don't let that scare you. It's really not that hard. But we have to change the margin between this and this. Margin is simply the space outside of a widget. So if we make it less, this will come up and get closer to it. So the first thing I want to do, let me just show you what will happen if I do this all the way around. It's going to change all the different values. So I'm going to unlink the values. So I'm just dealing with the bottom because we just need to change the margin on the bottom, right, to bump it up. So I'm just going to go into the negatives here. Totally fine to do that to where it looks pretty good. So I hope you're seeing like how much fine control you have over all this stuff. So now that we've got that about how we want it, I'm going to go to the button, click that. First of all, I'm going to make it centered. And since we're dealing here with a button that doesn't really look like a button, it's just more like text, right? So I'm going to show you how you can do that here. So first of all, you would change the text here. You would change the link here of wherever page that's going to go to. But then let's go up to Style. And under Background Type, we'll click right here on Color. And all we're going to do is we're going to take this right down here, this slider. This shows how opaque or transparent the background color is. So we're just going to bring it all the way down to transparent. And we'll change the text color to our green that we've been using. And then if we go to Content, we can, because I think what they've got here is they have little kind of chevron arrows next to it. So to incorporate that, we're just going to go to Content, Icon Library, and I will just type in chevron again, and I'll just choose this one, Insert, and then I'll place it after. But now it's a little too far away again, right? So we know how to do this now. We just click on either this element or that one, go up to Advanced. I'm going to unlink the values. And since we need less margin on top this time, I'm just going to go to the top one, and I'm going to start pulling it down to where it's a good distance away. Like I feel like that looks pretty nice to my eye. And since we've done so much fine tuning here, I'm actually not going to do it all over here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a mulligan here. I'm going to right click, delete, and then right click, duplicate. I think at this point we can just put in our image background here that we're going to use. So I'm going to choose it right here. I'm going to click on the column and then Style. So by the way, yes, you can do this too. Up to now, we've only been putting images as backgrounds of whole sections, but we can put an image in the background of a column as well. So just click on the column, Style, background type, classic, and then go down to choose image. And I've got this one here that's a nice dark image. Now, obviously, this isn't looking great yet because it's not all sized correctly, but I'm going to put the image in over here as well. I found a lighter one. Style, background type, classic, choose image, and I've got a lighter one here. I'm going to select that. So obviously this is really short, right? As opposed to what we have here, which has plenty of space on it. So we're gonna fix that really quick. All we need to do is choose, let's go ahead and choose this first column. And we're gonna go to advanced. And now we're gonna be dealing with what we call padding. So is all the space on the outside of a widget or a section or a column? But padding is the space you get inside of it. So we're just going to start bumping up the padding all the way around first, just to see kind of how it looks, just to kind of make it even. And I feel like something like this looks good size-wise, but obviously it doesn't look great still. So the first thing we need to do is change the sizing of the image. Remember what we did before. So we'll go to Style, and it's because this is what the image looks like. It's like a boat. So we're only seeing a tiny little piece of it. So what we need to do is go to Display Size. Remember, Cover is what we always want to choose. And that already looks a lot better. But I am noticing the text is still really hard to read, right? So what I think I want to do is actually, let's go back at our example. This text is up higher on the section. It's not quite in the middle. So what we need to do is do a little bit more fine tuning. So we'll choose the column, go back up to advanced. And what we're going to do is we're going to compensate. So we don't want the padding to be the same on the top and the bottom. We want less padding on top, more padding on bottom. So let's unlink the values. So let's play around with this real quick. Let's just kind of cut this in half, roughly in half, to about 70. Or maybe even like 60, and then maybe make this about 200. So do you see what happened there? The padding is much less on top and much bigger on bottom, kind of pushing the text up. And then if we change this to about 220, the spacing of this feels pretty good. So again, it's a lot less padding. It's only 60 pixels of padding up top, but it's 220 on the bottom, effectively pushing all this content up to the top. But it's still a little hard to read, right, because of the background image. So I'm going to show you something. And again, remember, this is meant to be our light section. So let's go ahead and fix that a bit. Let's choose the column, and we'll go to Style. And under Background, we have Background Overlay. So rather than choosing black this time, we could choose white. But to me, I never love a white overlay. I feel like it just washes an image out, unless that's a style choice you're going for. What I think I'm going to do here is get a little fancy just to show you what you can do. I'm going to choose a gradient instead. It always defaults to this magenta color. So we've got white on top. If it's not white for you, make sure it is white. Make sure that's selected. Then under pink, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose white again, but I'm going to take this opacity bar, so that's white, that's all the way solid. I'm going to bring it all the way transparent. So what we have now is it's white that transitions to transparent. Okay, it's still a little hard to see that it's going on because the overall background overlay is not super dialed up yet. So we fix that by going down to opacity, and let's just play around and see what looks good. So if we bring it all the way up, that gets very light on top. And if we bring it all the way down, it goes away completely. So you want to find where it reads the best. In this case, I think it might be dialed all the way up. Okay, so now let's move on to our other column. So we're going to choose that. And the first thing I want to do is talk about the image sizing that we just fixed. So we're just going to go down to Display Size and Cover, so we can really see what we've got going there. And I think what I want to do here is, rather than having the text, okay, so let's go back to our example here. I think I want to do something more like this, to where it's this one's up here and this one's down here. I think that way we can kind of get this text where we want it in a better zone down here where it's not competing with so much visual noise up top. So all we really need to do to achieve that, first of all, let's go ahead and change the color. It's black, it's hard to see, so let's make that white, and we'll make this white as well. Now what we want to do, let's go ahead over to our other column, Advanced, and just take note of these values. So we have 60 on top, we have 130 on the left, 130 on right, 220 on the bottom. So maybe you just want to write that down. So I'm going to go over here, Advanced, and I'm just going to do kind of the opposite. So I'm going to unlink these values. On top, I will do 220. Right, I'll do 130. Left, I'll do 130. And on bottom, I'll do 60. We can even push that a little bit further. Like maybe I want it to go a little further underneath here. So let's go ahead and just start pulling that down and then compensating by making that a little smaller. Something like that thing looks really nice, I think. So it's just all a matter of playing around with stuff. And then I think it's still a little hard to read. So what I want to do here is do a simple, go to Style, a simple background overlay of just black. We could get fancy with the gradient again, but I think it's fine. I don't think we need it here. And I'm just going to dial this back until it's bright enough for the image to pop, but also dark enough for the text to pop. And if we zoom out here, I think this is looking pretty nice. Okay, I think we're ready to move on. Let's go ahead and click on Update. Good practice, just always do that. Make sure we're saving our work. Okay, so let's move on down. Let's take a look at this section now. So let's say you have use for it, but maybe you don't need an image here. So let's go ahead, I'm gonna right click and delete that image. And now's a good time to kind of go over all of these widgets with you. So there are a ton of them. There's a lot of basic ones that you get for free with Elementor, the free version. There's also a lot of pro ones, a little fancier, and you only get those with Elementor Pro, which you have to pay for. So for now, we're kind of just stuck with the basic ones. So again, you can drag over a heading, you can drag over a Google map if you wanted to do that. And then you just put in your address or your business name or whatever over here, and it coordinates with Google Maps. So if you just type in a business name, so I didn't even type in the name of the restaurant right, but it's still got it and it's still a little map pin here. So it works pretty well. So I'm gonna get rid of that, just right click delete, and we can drag over an icon. And we now know how to edit those, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and right click, delete there. Now I'm gonna show you something really cool. So you can also add in a video. So I'm just gonna drag that widget right under here and also delete this text that we added. We don't need that. And the way this works is super easy. Just click on the video. Then you're gonna choose if it's hosted on YouTube, Vimeo, self-hosted, which I never recommend doing. That means you're uploading a video file to your own website. I don't recommend doing that. It's going to slow it all down. I always recommend YouTube for this. Then you would just find your video that's on YouTube, grab the little URL of it, the link for it, and just pop it right in here. And then I like unchecking this option. All the rest are hidden by default. I like to hide player controls as well. Makes it a little cleaner looking. But if you notice, there's a lot of dead space over here, right? So let's go ahead and try to fix that. All we need to do, again, is drag. Remember I showed you how you can change the width of columns. Just go right between them and then drag it right on over. And it looks like there's quite a bit of padding here. That's why there's still a lot of space here. So we've already dealt with padding as well. So we're just gonna click on this column, go up to Advanced, and here's where you can see the problem. On the right, it has 250 pixels of padding, which is probably overkill, right? So let's just maybe play around with that, maybe say 100. I think that looks a lot better already. And now what if we wanted this to not be sitting up so high? What if we wanted it to be more centered? Well, easy to do. All we do is click on the column itself, and under Layout, Vertical Align, we just go to Middle. And now if we take a look, it's just nice and centered, looking great. And if we go down here, let's say this section, we just wanted to change out the background image. We already know how to do that. Click on the section and then style. And let's choose something like this. Select that. And let's go ahead and do our treatment just so we can really hit it home. Attachment fixed and display size is already set to cover, so we're good to go there. And then we probably just want to make our text a little more readable. So let's change it from black to white. And the same with this, black to white. And then it probably just needs a background overlay over it as well to be really read. So under background overlay, let's choose a simple black one. And let's maybe make it a little less opaque. All we need is we just need to be able to read the text. And I think that looks pretty nice. So let's click on update one more time. Now, we're not quite done with this page because there's a really important step that we still need to do, which is this is only, everything we've done so far is for desktop, right? But half of people coming to your website are very likely coming there on a mobile device. But Elementor makes it really easy on you, especially with all these pre-made sections. They're pretty well thought out in advance to be mobile friendly, but we just want to do a reality check at this point and make sure that it actually does look good. And I'll show you how to make minor tweaks so it does look as good as possible. So the thing we need to do is go down here to the bottom left and click on responsive mode. And then up top, it lets you choose your device. And here's what it's going to look like on tablet, which looks pretty good. And then you would just want to go through and make sure. And then we're going to concentrate mostly on mobile because that is really where most people are searching. Tablets they make up a small percentage, but mobile has to be right. So let's go ahead and see what needs fixing. For sure, this text is too big. So let me just show you what we can do here. I'm going to start with this text because I think that might be big as well. I'm just going to click on the text, go to Style, Typography. Now, we already know how to change the size, but one thing to really hit home with you on is whenever you see this icon here, that means we're only changing this on that device, on mobile. That means that what we've done on desktop remains unchanged. So if we did this and went to desktop, it still looks exactly like how we left it. So whenever you see that, you know you're just changing it for that specific device, which is pretty cool. Now we're going to go to this line and we're going to do the same. So typography, size, and again, we're seeing the little mobile icon, so we know we're good to go. And we're just going to make it about the right size for our eyeballs. And we're just going to eyeball it to see what looks best. Now I will say at this point, this text is a little close to this text, right? So what do? We go to advanced, we go to margin. And so what we have is a -40 margin on top. We don't want that. So we're going to make that a little taller so there's more space between. And I'm actually going to add a little space underneath too, because I feel like that's a little tight. So let's just go ahead and bump that up slightly as well. And I think that looks good. Now going down, all we're doing is we're looking for stuff that looks off. I think so far all this looks pretty good. All our icons are looking good. Okay, so now we get to a section where I think it doesn't look so good. It's just the section's too big, everything's pressed way too far in the middle. So what we want to do is choose this column, and I'm actually just gonna link all these values together. I'm just gonna kind of go back to square one and see what looks good. So let's just start. Oh wait, I do want to make sure they're all linked together. And I'm just going to start playing around with the padding to see what looks good more or less. That looks pretty good. And so we've got 42 all around. I'm just going to do the same thing here going forward. So I'm just going to click on this column, advanced, padding, 42 all the way around. Okay, moving on down. Okay, so this is interesting. This video has been grayed out, which basically means it is not going to be visible on mobile. So if we collapse this, we'll see an actual preview of what it's really going to look like. This just shows up like this here while we're editing. If we wanted that to show on desktop, all we need to do is choose the column. up to advanced, and then under responsive, this has already been selected to be hidden on desktop. We want to click on show. Okay, we're scrolling down from here. This is the last we left it. Okay, looking to see everything else. All looks pretty good. And now we'll click on update. And then you would probably want to do the same thing on tablet just to make sure that everything looks good, going all the way down, doing all the little tweaks and fixes that we talked about. Okay, so now I think we're ready to actually move on to our next page. So what we're gonna have to do to get around from page to page is we're just gonna go down and click on this little eyeball icon right down here. This is going to get us back to where we can see our main menu. From here, all we have to do is click on the next page, which in this case is About, and then go up to Edit with Elementor. And editing this page is going to work exactly like editing the home page. So the first thing we might want to do is change this header. So you could get rid of it altogether if you didn't want to have that. I will undo that though. You could change the height of it. Maybe it's taking up too much space, which I personally think it does. I don't think it needs to be that tall. So what I'm going to do is just click on the section, and then under layout, here's where you control the height. So you just kind of drag it to wherever you want it to be. Like I think something like this feels a little more appropriate. It doesn't make people scroll down quite so far. And then of course, you know how to change the text. You just click on it and then change it right over here. And we know how to change the background image too. We're just going to click on the section, go to Style, and then choose Image. And I'll just go with this one again. And make sure to set to cover, like we always want for these full width images. But what if we don't like the area of the photo that this is showing? Well, easy to change it. Remember, all we have to do is go to Position. We can play around with these predefined positions, or again, we can just do Custom, and then we can start dragging it. I would do the y-axis because remember that controls up and down. So we can just drag it to wherever looks good to us. But let's change this image out for something that's inspired by the Farmer's Dog website. See how they have these kind of counters? It's great for showing statistics or that kind of thing. So what if on your About Us page, you kind of wanted to have the same thing where you're talking about how many clients you've helped, how much money you've saved them, that kind of stuff. So the first thing we need to do is right click on the image and delete. And then to replace it, we're just going to go up to the Elements icon. Remember to find all of our widgets here. And we're going to look for what's called the counter. So I think we have to go past all these pro features and we have more general features here. So I'm just going to click, hold, and drag. Go back a bit. Now notice how this has 4 different statistics or 4 different numbers showing up here. So in order to do that, we need 4 different columns. Now, but this is only a 1-column section. How do you get 4 columns into here? It's actually really easy. You're just going to go and find this first widget, which is called Intersection. And you're just going to click, hold, and drag right to where you want it. This lets us put multiple columns inside of 1 column. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click. I'm actually going to delete this one. You'll see why in a second. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to find a new widget called, and you have to scroll past all the pro widgets. There's all these down here underneath as well. Under General, we're going to be looking for the counter widget. So I'm going to drag that right into our intersection. Make sure it's going into the intersection. And the first thing I want to do is actually style it. So we're going to go to Style and Text Color. We can make it any color we want. Let's go ahead and stick with our kind of green color we've been using. And then Typography, we can choose whatever we want here. I'll do DM Sans to kind of go with what we've already been using. And then we can go under Title and we can actually change that for where it says cool number, we can change the style of that as well. So if we wanted to change the text to the green color for that, we can do that too. And Typography, I'm going to choose the same font, which is DM Sans. But I do think there's a little bit too much space between the 100 and where it says cool number. So the way to fix that, it's a little hidden. So you have to go to Typography again, and then under line height. So we're dealing with the number here, not the description. So we're going to go to line height, and this is where we can give some fine control over that spacing. And I think that looks a lot better. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to duplicate this 3 times. So right-click, duplicate, right-click, duplicate, and 1 more time. Cool. So that gives us all 4 of them. Now we just have to go through one by one, go to content, and this is where we can change the starting number, the ending number. So let's say you saved your clients, I don't know, $44 million over the years. So the first thing you're going to do is I'm going to type in 44, where we want the end number to be. And the number prefix, this is what's going to come before the 44. So this is where I would type in the $. And then number suffix, this is where I would type in, the M for a million. And then down here is where I would type in, and this is where I would type in something like client savings. Pretty easy, right? And of course you could change all this text. You could get rid of this whole thing if you didn't want to use it, replace it with something else. So let's say we have no use to have a testimonial right here. Well, we can definitely replace it with something different. So all we need to do is hit the little X to delete it. And now I'm going to add a new section. Let's say we want to have team bios, like you want to be able to feature everybody who works in your business. All we need to do is click on the starter templates icon and go up to blocks. And now we're going to filter this by team in this case. You can filter it again, whatever you need, right? If you need a testimonial, if you need a call to action section, services, FAQs, you name it, it's there. But anyway, we're doing team here. So then you would just find the overall layout that you think works best for you. Remember, these all look very boring right now because they're all black and white. But again, you customize them with all your own stuff. So I'll just take a look around here. I think this one's probably going to be our best bet. So I'll click on that and then on import block. Cool. And then you can obviously change this. Maybe we just want it to say our team instead. And maybe we don't need this. So I'll right click, delete. And then you just go one by one and change the image. You just click on each one. And to change the images, you would just click on each column, go to style, choose image. And let's see what we've got down here. Let's grab this guy. Obviously, these would be your real team members, not random stock images, but, and you would change the name just right here, like we've always been doing. Job title, same thing right over here. And I'll just take care of the other two real quick and just speed through this, please. And let's say we wanted this section. Let me just kind of take a peek at what we've got. What if we wanted this section to kind of have a different background to it? So all we need to do is click on the section, style, background type. We'll just stick with classic solid and then go to our colors that we already have. Now let's choose this one, just nice and subtle. And then if we wanted this to be centered, we would just click on the text under content, alignment, center. Super easy. And then of course you'd want to go ahead. Let's go ahead and click on update before we move on. And then you want to go back to responsive mode. Remember, you always want to check it out and make sure it looks great on mobile as well. So I'm just going to go over to the mobile icon and we'll go to the top and just see how it all looks. I see no issues so far. All looking good. The only thing is maybe this is too tall on mobile, right? What if we wanted to make it a little smaller? We would just click on the whole section, layout, and then we see the little mobile icon, so we know we're making a change that just impacts the mobile view, so we can kind of make it just a little bit smaller, something like that maybe, and we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and click out of this and click on update one more time. And now we're ready to move on to the next page. So let's go ahead and click again on preview changes. And now let's go to services. And we'll click on edit with Elementor. But what if you have no need for a services page or any of the pages that it comes with out of the box? You don't really need that page. You need something different. Well, it's really easy to just change the name of a page and change the content on it. And I'll show you exactly how to do it. So the first thing is obviously just to change the title of the page. So click on it, and maybe we'll call this Testimonials. And now we've got this header section that looks different from what we have on our About Us page, right? So the easiest thing to do, you could make the same changes, but then you run the risk of it being slightly inconsistent if you're just kind of eyeballing it. So what I think you should do is just go back to the first page where you created whatever your header is going to look like. In this case, it's our About Us page. I'm just going to go up to the top section, right click, copy, and then go back to Testimonials And then right up here, right click, paste style. So that way it's nice and consistent across the board. Okay, so obviously this stuff doesn't really apply to our new testimonials page, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just zero this out. We're going to get rid of everything. So I'm going to click on the X's just to get rid of all of these little sections one by one. And now we're just going to add our testimonials. So we could make it from scratch by clicking on the plus icon, choosing our columns, but I tend to prefer when I can to use a block for the simple reason that the blocks are already pre-thought out in terms of being mobile responsive. So whenever you create a section from scratch, you're going to have more work to do to make it actually look good on mobile. But these blocks, when you click on the starter templates icon and go to blocks, these are already pre-thought out. They're already pre-responsive. So I'm just going to go up and I'm going to go to testimonials to try to find the best layout for us here. And honestly, there's no best layout. I'm just going to choose something that I think works for this. But again, it's up to you. It's up to whatever style you're trying to go for. So they've got a ton of different styles here. I'm just going to make it easy and choose this one. It's nice and simple. Just click on it and then import block. All right, looks pretty good. And then you're just going to go one by one. Just click on it. And this is set up, it's called an image box. So it's another one of those compound widgets where you have the image, the title, and the description all in one spot. So obviously you would just change the testimonial text right in here. You would change the name of the person here. You could even put in, the city they live in or their job description if you are more B2B. That might be important. But for now, I'm just gonna choose the image. Let's choose this one right here. And one more time. And then just speed this up. I'm just going to do all these just so it looks better. And if we want to change the font here, I can tell this doesn't really follow our font format. So I'm just going to choose it, go to Style, and I'm going to collapse image, and I'm going to go to content. And then under title, we have to do this twice. We have to do it for the title here, and we have to do it for the description here. So go to typography. I'm going to choose our DM Sans. And I'll do the same for the description. And if we want to tighten up the spacing a little bit, all we need to do is go under title spacing, and I'm just going to drag it about like that. And then I will right click copy, right click paste style all the way across so that that change has affected across all of the testimonials. Now, what if you had more testimonials than this? Well, you could add a whole new section, but I don't think you need to do that. All I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this last one here. I'm going to right click duplicate, and I'll just do it as many times as I need to fill out, all the testimonials I have. So, and then from here, obviously you would change the text, you would change the images, and you're good to go. I'm going to click on update. And over on responsive, we're just going to do a quick reality check on mobile, make sure it looks good. Yeah, I think it's all looking pretty nice. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of here. And there's one more step we need to take to make this actually reflect, because let me show you something. So if we collapse this and we can see our menu again, we change this to testimonials, but it still says services up here. How do we get that to reflect in our page structure and our menu? So it's also easy to do. We're going to go back out to WordPress for this one. So I'm going to click this like hamburger menu right here, and then exit. And I'm just going to choose WP Dashboard here and click Apply. Ah, good catch. It's telling me that we did not save our work, so I'm glad it told me that. So stay on page. I'm going to click on Update one more time. Let's try that again. So I'm going to click on the 3 lines here and then exit. Okay, so we're back in the WordPress dashboard. How do we fix that menu? All we need to do is go down to Appearance, Menus, and what we've got here We've only got one menu. It's the main menu. Here are all the different pages that are on it. First of all, I like to get rid of the home page. I don't think it needs to be in the menu because generally speaking, the logo over here that's up here somewhere, that will be the link to your home page. But it's up to you. You can leave it if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and expand this, and I'm going to click on Remove. Now, Services is the one we want to change, right? So I'm going to click on that. So I have to expand it here, and I'm just going to change the navigation label. Okay, so we've left Elementor's dashboard, and now we're inside of the WordPress dashboard. So all we need to do to change that, that menu is go over to Pages, and we're going to find the one in question. So it's Services. Remember, we changed it to Testimonials. All we need to do is click on Quick Edit, and we're going to change this to Testimonials. And we're also going to change the slug to Testimonials. The slug is really just like when you think of your website, for me, it would be westmcdowell.com/testimonials. That's what the slug is. If we change this to About Us, it would be westmcdowell.com/about us. So I'm going to click on Update, and that should have taken effect on our menu now. So let's just go to Home, and we'll click on View. Yep, so we have Home, About, Testimonials, and Contacts. So that change has been made, and if we click on it, you can see it's going to take us right to our Testimonials page. So now I've shown you how to change the content of a page, to change one page to a different type of page. What if now you need to actually add a brand new page from scratch? And I'll show you exactly how to do it. So let's head back up here to where it says it's the name of your WordPress website, and then Dashboard. The first thing we're going to do is we have to install a plugin. So we're going to go down to Plugins, Add New. And I'm going to search for, it's called Duplicate This. And I think it's this one right here, actually, Duplicate Page. It's the one I always use. It's got the best reviews. And this just allows you to duplicate any page, any blog post, and then you can edit it from there. So I'll click on Install Now, then on Activate. Then we'll go back over to Pages. So let's say now you need an FAQs page, right? So the first thing you're going to do is just decide, I like to just kind of choose the simplest page that we have. And I think right now it might be that Testimonials page. Just take a simple page and click on Duplicate This. Then it's got a copy of it right here, but it's a draft. So let's just click on Quick Edit. We'll change the title of it to FAQs. And the slug will automatically fill into that later. And then to make sure it's live and not a draft, which is kind of like where it's hidden from the world, just go down to Published and then Update. Then you just click on Edit with Elementor. You would edit it the exact same way we've done for all of the other pages. You'd find the right block, you'd customize it. You know how to do it by now. So the last thing I want to show you here is how to actually get that new page into your menu. Because if we go to Home, I'm just going to click on View. I'm just going to open it in a new tab. Because you can see here, that new page, the FAQs page, it's not in our menu yet. We have to actually put it there. It's easy to do though. So all we need to do is go over to Appearance, Menus, and we've only got one. It's our main menu. As of now, it has Home, About, Testimonials, and Contact. So what we need to do is go over here under Pages. So this is showing us all of our most recent pages that are created, or you can do View All. So I'm going to click on I'm just going to select this and then add it to Menu. Easy as that. And one other cool thing about menus that you can do is, you know how on some websites they actually have kind of a drop-down menu? So this is my website. And then when you hover over Free Starter Kits, we've got all these little drop-down items. Well, the way you achieve that in here is let's say you wanted to have testimonials and FAQs under About, nested under that. So when you hover over About, testimonials and FAQs appear as drop-down items. All you need to do is drag them and pull them in to the right. And that just automatically nests them like that. So that's a pretty cool thing, I think. But I'm just going to go ahead and put them back where they were. And then important last step, Save Menu. Now when you go back to your website and you look at the menu, look what we got here. We got FAQs. And speaking about our menu and our header overall, we haven't done anything with it up till now, but it's time now to style it, including adding our logo. We can do anything we want in terms of styling this and the button as well. So the way we do this is a little different. Just make sure you're looking at your website and you're signed in. Like right now, I'm just looking at the homepage, not editing it in Elementor. From here, we're going to go up to here where it says Customize, and we're going to go down to Header Builder. So if you look down here, you can kind of see what's going on here. So this lets you build like a 3-layer header. I don't recommend that. I think it's too busy. I don't think it's needed. So what's going on here is right in the middle layer, we have the site title and logo right here. We have primary menu here and the button here. So it's set up in 3 columns. What we could do is we could take the primary menu and drag it to the middle, and that'll make it be more centered, which I think looks a little nicer. And I highly recommend keeping the button. I think that's a great thing to have, so it's always right there. And I recommend keeping things pretty much in place. Don't get too creative with putting your logo over here and your button over here. People just aren't used to it, and they will not be able to navigate your site as easily if you do that. So now it's saying the header on this page is set from the transparent header. So we actually need to click right here on Customize Transparent Header. Okay, so first thing we want to do is change up the logo. So I've got one right here. I'm just going to click on Change Image. And I've got my logo file right here. Just make sure it's like legible on top of whatever image you're choosing. This one's just pure white. I think it looks pretty good that way. And then to change the size of it, because it's really small right now, all we got to do is go down to Logo Width, and we can just drag it to whatever looks good. I'm happy with that. Now what about our menu? So I'm just going to click on that, and then we can change things like the width of it. Oh, maybe not. Just ignore that. And we're just going to go to Design, and I'm going to ignore most of this stuff because a lot of this has to do with the sub-menus. Remember, like a drop-down menu, which we don't really have. But if you have that, feel free to play around with these to get them to looking the way you'd like. And here's where we can set the menu color. So I'm just going to choose on white. And then we've got our green color for hover state and the same green color for active state is what I'm going to do. And we can't really preview it here, but you can just imagine it's going to show up white. Then as we hover over it, it'll turn green. And then whatever page we're on, that particular link will also be green. And we can also change the font, of course, right here. I will probably type in this case, it's actually inheriting the styles we already selected, so I'm happy with that. If you weren't, you could just choose whichever font you wanted. But now let's talk about our button. Generally speaking, I recommend it matching your normal call to action button right here. So we wouldn't click on the button, we would just click right down here where it says button. This is where we can edit it. So text, this is just what it's going to say. So let's have it mimic what we've already got. With schedule now. And the link, this is where you're going to put the actual link of where it's going. So if it's going to be a tap to call to action, then this is exactly how you would format it. TEL : then the phone number. Problem is that doesn't really work on desktop. So you have to know that most of your people are coming from mobile if you want to have this work. So I'm just going to do /contact. Then whenever somebody presses that button, it's just going to go to, website.com/contact. But now let's talk about the design of it, because it definitely does not look like what we currently have. So I'm going to go to Design. The text color is white, that can stay. But the background color, let's go ahead and choose our normal green color. And then let's choose this slightly darker green color for the hover state, so that when you hover over it, it changes ever so slightly. Then we can do things like we can get rid of the border. I mean, you could definitely have as much of a border as you want. In our case, we're just going to get rid of it to match what we've got. And then border radius. If I remember right, this is already a 4 pixel border radius. So I'm just going to keep that here as well. And remember, the border radius just refers to how round the corners are. So if we made this, 25, so if we were to link this together and make that 25, for instance, it would be more like this pill shape. But let's just go back to 4. But now it's time for the moment of truth. We actually have to see if this is gonna look good on mobile too, right? So the way we do it is we just go down to the bottom and we're gonna click on this little mobile icon and see what we've got. All right, looks pretty good to me. So we've got the logo here, we've got a little hidden menu, so we click on that, and then we have our drop down. I think it all looks pretty nice. So we're almost done now, but if you want a contact page with a working contact form that customers can fill out to get in touch with you, this video is gonna take you through that final step. So click here and let's get this all wrapped up.